We are beautifully, melanated.
Welcome to the Beautifully Melanated podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sarah, and I'm here with my two co-hosts.
Hi, I'm Karen.
Hi, I'm Kay. Welcome. So tonight I wanted to spend some time talking about the law of attraction. It's something that's come across my path a few times. I've not really spent a lot of time with it, but as I'm developing my spiritual practice, I'm very interested in how it works, what it is, what it isn't, and how I could use it to benefit my life. And so, because I know Sarah is the expert in this podcast on the law of attraction, I've given her the heads up. We'd love her to share. We'll have questions to ask her. So we hope you enjoy it. So over to you, Sarah.
Thanks, Kay. So I've been, I'd say, practicing the law of attraction properly, I'd say, for about 2 years, maybe a little bit more than that. So the law of attraction is quite simple, really. It's about what you're putting out to source, whatever you believe, God, universe. Whatever you put out, you get back. So like attracts like. I got interested in the law of attraction by reading a book called The Secret. Now, many people know about The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. It's a classic when it comes to the law of attraction. There is also a film of it, but the film is slightly corny, but the concept's still the same. Of what you're putting out to the universe, you're getting back. There's also a book called E Squared by Pam Grout. And in that book, she talks about the law of attraction, as in kind of the universe, whatever, is always listening to you. So one exercise to do with that book was you focus and you ask source, universe, God, to show you, for instance, a purple feather, or to show you a green car. And then you'll be surprised because within maybe a day or so, you will see a purple feather or you will see a green car, but you might see a sign saying the purple feather. It might not necessarily be an actual purple feather. Or you might see a sign saying, I don't know, green cars for sale, or you know what I mean? And it's a silly example, but it's not necessarily definitely going to be exactly how you think it would be. But that just shows you that the kind of universe is listening to you. Now, with the law of attraction, they say very much whatever you're putting out there, you're getting back. So what I do is one thing I do is I write a gratitude list. So every morning I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. And in the evening, I will write down the one thing or the best thing that happened to me during that day. I'll also write down things in the present tense. So I might say, I am grateful for, I don't know, receiving 3 new clients. I am grateful for the fact my daughter has done blah, blah, blah. So I'm already calling it into the present. I'm not saying I'm hoping that my daughter's going to get that. I'm hoping that I would get 3 more clients. I'm writing it down as if it's already here. I also use visualization. Now, visualization is for me where I find the law of attractions work the most effectively, but that's just me. I'm also, for the record, I'm also a visual learner. So I don't know if that's something to do with it. First of all, I'll talk about the way I've used visualization to bring money into my life. So when I first started practicing the law of attraction, I've got a big whiteboard in my kitchen. And I decided for, say, I don't know, for say 2022, I write down them top 3 things that I want to achieve in 2022. And I write them down on my marker pen, whatever. And so I look at it every single day. And then about 2 weeks ago, I looked up there and I realized the 3 things I'd written down, I've already achieved 2 of them this year to the T, because the amount of money I said I wanted to make, I'm now making between my full-time job, my private practice. I'm actually making the exact money I wrote down before I started my private practice. So that's why I like the law of attraction. I also use it I have a calendar, a day-by-day calendar. And on the calendar, I write down the amount of money that I want to make per month from clients, other bits and bobs, etc. I'll think of an amount, I'll pick it, I'll write it, and I always make it or exceed it. But I find if I don't write it up there, I will lag and I won't make as much as I wanted to. And I'm not sure it's something about me seeing it up there, a kind of holding myself accountable. I think that's part of it. But I find that that's really been really good for me. Another thing I used to do from the book The Secret, it's called the magic check, but it's the same kind of principle again. It's like a blank check and you write it to yourself and you put it up somewhere you can see it and you'll be surprised. It might sound corny, but it's just like writing yourself a check, sticking it up to the whiteboard, and you'll make that kind of money per month, almost the T. Another thing I've done is I have used vision boards, and I have a kind of paper one that I have in my dressing room, and then I have another one at work. Now, the one at work is simply of a room that I've constructed, windows, certain place, plants, etc., etc. It's a home office space. Now, I've had this screensaver for about a year and a half, a bit more. Leave it up there, see it every day. Now, it ended up being that my partner actually paid for us to have a home office, like out of the blue. And I was standing in it the other day. It's not finished yet, but I was standing by the window and I actually realised the home office on my screensaver in my my work computer is exactly the same as the home office that's coming to pass in my garden. So it's basically, I think, more about keeping track of what you want and visualising what you want. The only other way I use the law of attraction, I'll stop going on a minute and I'll let Kay and Karen talk, is by creating space for what you want. So, for instance, say, I don't know, I haven't done this myself yet, but say you wanted a new baby, but the room you were planning on having the baby's room was full of, I don't know, clutter and crap. So, in a law of attraction sense, what you'd need to do is you'd need to clear all the crap. You need to buy like a really nice baby grow or something, and you need to hang it in the cupboard. So when you kind of give space for there to be a baby, because often that's the problem. People want these things, but they actually have no physical or mental space in their life for things like that. And one last thing I will say about it is, for instance, if you keep saying things like, I don't know, I'll never meet a nice man or I'll never meet a nice woman, then you won't, because you keep on enforcing to the universe, I will never, it will never be. So yeah, that's how I use the law of attraction. I found it amazing for me. It really keeps you focused. Obviously, I'm human. I don't always do it, but I do try to do it at least 70% of the time. Yeah, so that's how I use it. So Kay, Karen, do you have any experiences where you've used this kind of thing, and how has it worked for you guys?
So I have vision boards. I have been consistently doing vision boards. They do work. It's not, for me, it's normally January, and I put in what I want to accomplish for the year. I've not done it so much for money, but for things that I want to happen in my life in the year. And I've encouraged my children to do it, and they thought it was nonsense, but they did it. And sure enough, when you come to review your year, you have accomplished the things you wanted to do. So I'm a firm believer in vision boards. I can see it every day. It kind of maybe subliminally communicates to me that my actions need to reflect my dreams. And maybe that's the way it happens. But when I don't do a vision board, I find the year will end and I have to really sit and think about, so how did 2020 go for me? How did 2022 go for me? So I completely get vision boards because it makes me put the action behind it. Where I've become lost with the law of attraction, I remember in 2008, I got a copy of The Secret. And it was one of my sister's possessions. I don't know who gave it to her, but she said to me, I haven't read it. I've started the first chapter. So I took it back to England with me after the funeral. And I thought, this doesn't make sense. And I think it was because it felt like I was being invited to order from the universe what I want, like I would from an Argos catalogue. So I'm thinking, but if it was that simple, then everybody would get what they want. And I just didn't vibe with it. I didn't get the principle. It felt very abstract, not grounded. I was grieving at the time, so I do think that had something to do with it. And I put it down and I never read it. So coming back to, has it worked for me? No, but then I haven't executed it in the way you've mentioned. I think what was missing for me is and then what? So I put a check on the wall. I put an amount on my calendar. How does that money come to me? Do I have to earn it? Or does the universe just gives it to me? That's the bit that I didn't quite get. So you take action. Okay.
Yeah. Inspired action. It's got to be inspired.
So if I wanted to earn £3,000 next month, for the month of June, I would write that number down.
Yep.
Then I would make concrete plans on how I'm going to earn this money.
That's right. You take inspired action. But I feel with the law of attraction, you have to be, I know for myself, I've got to be in the right mindset. If I'm in, like right now, I'd say in the last 6 months, I've been in a really good business mindset. Right now, I've got so many different business ideas springing out from everywhere.
Yeah.
So say I wanted to make, I don't know, say you wanted to make 3,000, that's fine. So I'd say you write down, thank you for the £3,000 I've made this month. And that's what you'd write down at the beginning of next month or whatever. Okay. And then if you're in the right mindset, then I'd think, okay, in order to make £3,000 this month, I need to do this, 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 and this. And then I'll do it. And I will make it.
That's what I didn't grasp when I read that first 2 chapters of The Secret. I thought it was more I wish it and it would happen.
No, if that was the case, I would be lying on a beach somewhere and it would not be here.
Exactly. And I thought, well, that sounds very similar to faith. But actually it is similar to faith, the way I interpreted it, which was you pray and you ask for, and God delivers, but you're not quite sure how. It just happens. And so I thought The Secret was along a more fuzzy line, but I get it now. I get now that the action has to follow. You can't just wish it into existence.
I wish it, but then again, I do think there's some things in life that are meant to be, and I do think that at some point they do come in because source will invite them in at the right time. But I do, with the law of attraction, it's very much, I can feel when I'm in the you know what I mean? I can feel when I'm in the zone of the law of attraction, because I can literally feel myself manifesting this stuff. But it is by inspired action. They call it downloads in that kind of community, but it might be like, I know when I had my online drop-in counselling clinic, that was very much a kind of download, in, quotes, because I was in that kind of entrepreneurial vibe. I wrote down what I wanted to do, and I thought, oh, drop-in clinic. And I thought, oh, black-owned economy. And that's the kind of thing. And then I put it on, and then you start seeing it come to fruition. And before you know it, you smash through your goals.
Right.
So, yeah, if you think, I often think, okay, I want this, I want to get this. Okay, this is going to cost, say, £1,000, right? How can I generate £1,000 in the next month? It gets your brain cogs going, I guess.
Right.
So, yeah.
The one thing I do agree with is that words have energy, and I'm very careful what I speak over my life.
Yes.
And I have learned to say what I want rather than what I don't want. Because if I say to the universe, I don't want, the universe is going to give me that thing.
That's right.
So I say what I want. Whatever follows I am is what's going to come to me. So I'll say to my kids, don't say I am. And again, it's not airy fairy, but sometimes kids make joke and they say, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. This thing.
Yes, exactly. That stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you're cursing yourself. So I'm careful to say if I'm feeling unwell, I say I don't feel well, but I don't say I am unwell.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't feel well. And that's a practice I've had to develop because I was so used to just saying whatever came out of my mouth without thinking that they have energy and that the universe responds. Karen.
I believe that you get what you ask for. I do believe that. Perhaps I've never used the terminology the way that you ladies have used it, but I think it's pretty much the same sort of thing. I believe that you get what you ask for. So, for example, the job I'm in now, I thought about this job because I work in a particular school, and I thought they could really benefit from a student well-being manager or extra pastoral care. And they didn't have that role at the time. I just remember thinking they could use one. This was quite a long time ago, and I thought, oh, what would I do if I had that role? And I thought about, how I might fit that role and what I would do if I were in that position. And years later, they created that role, and I'm now in it. So I do believe that you put these things out there, you have a thought, and I think it does manifest itself somehow. I think that, like Sarah, I think you also said, Kay, you do have to do something about it. I don't think it's not passive, is it? It's an active thought. So you think about something, and I think you create steps of ways in which to get there, which is basically what you were saying. And I think I've used that a lot in my life. For example, I wanted to be married before I had my children. That was my thought. It was always my thought to be married first. Lo and behold, I did get married. I think sometimes, for me, it gets a bit tricky when I'm not sure what I want.
Yes.
Because if I don't know,
the universe doesn't know.
Yeah, then how is the universe going to know? Because I don't know. So that's what I think, that's where it's tricky. And in life, sometimes I don't know, particularly around relationships and even job opportunities sometimes. Career-wise, I was very, very sure I wanted to go in. I wanted to study again. I knew that I wanted to go back to uni. I didn't quite know when that would happen or how, but lo and behold, an opportunity came up. I was at work and they said, we'll let you have day release. We'll still pay you for the day that you study. Again, I think I put that out there. It was something I really wanted. Do I always get things immediately? No. I think that it can take some time. And I think sometimes we fall into the trap of we think that it needs to be now. If I think it now, it must be now. And sometimes I don't think it works like that. I think it can be a slow process. I think depending on what the thing is that you want, you may not get it straight away, but I do think if that's what you want, it will come in time because you will put steps there. There's I don't know if it's a story or like a fable really, about a man who was on a desert island, right? Stranded. And he says, God will deliver me from this, right? I'll be fine. God will deliver me. So helicopter comes and they throw a ladder down and he says, no, it's fine. God will save me. It's fine. I'm okay. You go ahead. Helicopter goes away. Boat comes, says, would you like to get in our dinghy? No, I'm fine. God will, God's going to save me. And then he's just stuck there. The moral of that story, basically, is that you do get help, but you have to recognize, that God is trying to save you or that the universe is trying to save you. But you have to be able to take those opportunities. I think often we don't know when an opportunity has presented itself and therefore we don't take them.
Very true.
I think you have to be open. I think you have to...
be open is very important. Being open to it
that's
is
it,
so important. Exactly. Be aware of yourself.
Be aware. And also I think your mind is so powerful. I think, if you have a really negative view, I was saying this earlier, wasn't I, ladies, that, if I stepped out of the house and I stepped in dog poo and I just felt really annoyed about it, and then, the bus splashes me because it's raining and I feel like, today's going to be a rubbish day. It probably will be because I've already said that it's a rubbish day. That's perception, isn't it? Somebody else could step in dog poo and think, oh, how annoying. Let me just
go mad. Me.
I was going to say the opposite, actually. I was going to say that, they could just say, okay, oh, well, never mind. I needed some new shoes anyway. That gives me the opportunity to, I don't know, wash these trainers. They were manky anyway. Or do you know what I mean? it's perception. It's your view of what's happened to you. Two people can experience exactly the same thing and have completely different concepts of, or feelings about it. So, for example, okay, you step in dog poo, you might be furious. I might step in it and think, oh, well, I'll just get new shoes. But our minds are so powerful, our thoughts often affect the way that we feel, and the way that we feel often affects our behavior. So I do try to have really positive thought cycles as opposed to negative ones, because I realize that on many occasions, I'm the one who can change that.
It's your reality, because if you look at your environment is just an extension of your thoughts. The houses we're sitting in now, decorated the way they are, the way they feel is just an extension of our thoughts.
100%.
Yeah, if you're in a very dark place, then your environment's often crap. So yeah, that's why I look around now and I think this is all manifestation of me. The colours I've painted, that I've got one of my listeners, one of my living room walls, bright sunny yellow, myself and my daughter painted at a certain part of our lives, so I look around at all the things, you look around all the things you've bought, the things that you've been given. These are all a manifestation of parts of your life. They once were thoughts and now they're things.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I lived in a flat in South London I had my eldest daughter then, and we went to a friend's house for a party. They also lived in a flat. Didn't know her very well, to be honest. It was my husband's friend. And I remember saying to her, oh, we're going to buy a house. And she looked at me as if I was crazy. We all lived in, flats. We were all, mothers with young children. And she just looked at me as if I was crazy. And said, oh, well, good luck with that. And I said, no, we're going to buy a house. I didn't know how I was going to buy the house. I just knew I wasn't going to stay in that situation because it was a very, very small flat. I wanted to grow a family and I wanted to get on a property ladder. But I remember thinking, that's my thought.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we bought a house.
That's what I'm saying. Perfect example of the law of attraction, Karen, that is. You've put the thought forward. And there's people in life that will always say, oh, no, I don't think you should do that. And those people just need to be disregarded mentally, I feel, because, there's always people that will kind of be jealous or people that will want to squash what you're trying to do. And that stops the flow, I think, of energy from the universe. If I'm trying to do something, I know where I want to get to, and someone wants to put me down, then I'm just going to disregard what they say and chuck it in the bin and continue on forward.
I think you're right. I think the other thing is it's not even that I tried to. I think I've surrounded myself by really like-minded people.
Yeah.
That seems to have just happened to me. So look, we've met each other.
That's right.
And we work in similar fields, and we are friends, presumably, because we are interested in similar things. And, so I think that does happen. I do tend to surround myself by like-minded people who kind of want similar things to me, on a same journey, same path as myself. So yeah, I believe in it from that point of view. I also, though, believe in prayer, and I do pray. And I do pray for what I want. Again, I don't just sort of sit there and think God's going to drop it in my lap. I have to be open to when these things, like I say, opportunities present themselves. But I do pray for things that I want. And like I say, I don't always get them at the same time. But I found many, many occasions where I do believe that God, the universe, has delivered.
So question around, because I remember at the time when I was thinking, it's rubbish, I can't wish things into existence. I was in probably my first cycle of depression. And if you had asked me, what are you grateful for? The way Sarah talked about writing the list I'm grateful for, there's not a lot of things that would be on the list. I didn't feel grateful for anything. I was grieving. My marriage had ended and I had to move house. So I had a lot of losses at the time. I didn't feel grateful. I felt really distressed, traumatized in one case. What would you say to someone who is in that current state of mind, who finds it hard to find something to be grateful of, who feels victimized because they have been victimized?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I'm just thinking of my mother straight away, and when she went to her therapy and they talked about gratitude. But yes, I think for somebody like you, when you were, I guess, the previous you, when you were in that cycle of grieving, I would say finding the smallest things, but it's very cliche that you're grateful for. So I know sometimes I'll say, I'm really grateful that I have good physical health.
Mm-hmm.
I'm grateful that my mental health is good. That even those two things alone, I'm grateful that my brain is healthy. I'm grateful that I can hear my daughter, and I'm grateful that I can provide a warm meal for us in the evenings. That in itself. If everything else falls away, we have a home, and I'm grateful for that. My roof on my house. I'm grateful for my fridge that works. I'm grateful for my coffee maker. God, imagine my morning without that. I'm grateful for hot water. I can actually wash and have a hot shower. And my daughter.
So for those who can't say that because they've lost their home or their country's at war and they're displaced.
Yep.
Is there something they can still be grateful for?
I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful I'm actually alive with my daughter.
Right.
I was also thinking of really small things, like sometimes I've gone out into the garden and I can feel the sun on my face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just feeling the sun on my face, or feeling the wind as I go for my walk. The wind blows through my hair. I think it's those things where I can feel, or I can connect with nature, or even with a friend, that I have someone I can pick up the phone and say, I'm not having a good day today.
Yeah.
And that there's someone there for me. Really, really small things. And it's really hard to see those things when you feel like you're under a cloud.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I remember once I was so low, lots of things were happening for me. And I remember thinking, God, why have you forsaken me? Like, you've just left me in this.
Yeah.
And I felt so alone. I felt so disappointed. But I think the thing I remembered, or the thing I thought about, was, I know that this will pass. It feels really, really low now. But I think when you get that low, the only way to go for me was up. You know what I mean? I felt like I really hit the bottom. So I had to go up. And it's difficult to kind of keep the faith in those
when you're
moments.
in that, it's really hard.
When you're in it, it's really hard.
When you're in it, it's really. When I was going for a very patch, when you guys were there for me, I was really, really struggling. Not so much with depression, but with what I went through with my ex and stuff. I think, would I have done law of attraction then? Probably not. But sometimes it would have been nice if I could have just tried to think of even to ask someone that's struggling with depression to think of 10 things a day that they're grateful for is not fair. I don't think that's fair to ask someone that. But if they could maybe think of one thing they're grateful for a day, could they be grateful for a conversation with a friend? Could they be grateful for the fact that they got their child to school in the morning? Could they be grateful for the sunshine on their face when they sit in the garden? It's stuff like that, I think.
Yeah.
And then you build up from it. I've had the best success with the law of attraction when I felt good within myself. That's, I think it's great to do a few bits and bobs if you're feeling low, but I don't think it's fair to ask someone to rattle off a whole list of gratitude. I just couldn't.
I was talking to my daughter the other day, my youngest, and she came home and said, I really, really don't like school. I really hate it, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not discrediting that. I understand. I said, okay, what do you particularly not like? I really, really hate maths. Sometimes the teacher will ask me a question, I don't know the answer, and it puts me on the spot. I feel really anxious, blah, blah. I said, okay, let's have a look at that. What is it about maths? I get that he puts you on the spot and you don't like those things, but is there something about maths that you really don't like? Are you struggling in that particular topic? Well, I just don't like it. And I said, well, look, I feel as if you're struggling, we can get help, right? And therefore we can address it. No, it's not that. And I said, perhaps you don't want it to be better. Perhaps you get some sort of emotional payoff from not liking it and not doing anything about it. There are times when I think we just want to wallow, like we just need that time to not be positive. We just need to be able to say, this is crap. Yes. I hate it, and just be in that. And somebody coming along saying, don't you feel that the sun on your face? You just don't want to hear that, do you? You just want to be in that.
I would have told you words that,
Exactly. Right?
That is so true.
because you're just not in that place. I think it probably works better when you've kind of come out of that very low moment where you can start to think more clearly again, right? So you've got a bit more space to go, okay, I am in this situation and it is awful, but I felt it, I've owned it. Okay, now what do I do? I think that's the best place when you can actually start to make some progress. You're kind of coming out of that and then you're thinking about, all right, these are the things I can't change. What are the things I can?
You're right though, Karen. You're right, because I refuse to wallow now. I found actually I will not wallow in my own self-pity. You might find me, if I feel really crappy, I might have a crap day, but you will never find me wallowing for a succession of days because I'll pull myself out of it. Obviously, it's different. If there was something huge happening in my life, that's different. But so, day-to-day stuff that when I go to work, there's often people that say, oh, God, I hate it here. I hate my job. I hate everything. My husband's a pain in the ass and all that. My kids, I can't stand it. I just think you're so negative. Change it then. Get another job. You know what I mean? Get help with your marriage. Talk to your kids. And they're like, oh,
that's what I meant, Sarah. When I was saying for some people who feel victimized, yes, they may have been victimized, but to stay in that victim position, then you can't see. You can't see that there is hope and that you actually have the power to change
it. Absolutely.
Your life if you remain in the victim position. But it's not easy to shift out of that. But gratitude is one of the things that certainly I do think helps us to shift from that mindset.
Makes you feel so good. I'll tell you what, I'm part of the secret is you write down 10 things you're grateful for a month straight. And I'm not saying do it if you're feeling depressed. I'm just, actually, maybe it might be quite useful for a couple a day, 2 a day or something. But I did it. I did 10 a day for a month straight. And let me tell you, I felt elevated mentally. I thought, right, I want to think of all these new projects. I just felt great. I literally took my journal to work and I did it. But I did it at a time in my life where I felt good about me. So that's the time I did it. That I would highly recommend to everyone, even like 1 a day, one thing you're grateful for per day. Do it for a month straight. Make sure you write it down because there's power in writing it down.
Yes.
And you'll just feel great. So I highly recommend it. I really do.
One of the things I would say from my own lived experience is that I had, over a period of maybe a decade, habitually given away my power. I disempowered myself because I thought that's what God wanted. And the churches I went to kind of validated that suffering is holy, that, the Christian life is difficult and we're going to suffer for the sake of Christ, so forth, so on. And so I really didn't feel empowered. So then I was in this loop of stuckness and victimization. That for me is a key thing, I would say, if we recognize we have the power to change things, but so long as we claim it and not give it over to someone else to change it for us, God to change it for me. Well, he has given me everything I need to make the changes. Why wasn't I using it? I wanted him to literally come down, rescue me, and then drop an amazing man in my lap. I'll move my laptop up my lap and he'll plonk a man on there that I wanted. And I didn't have to do a thing about it. That was the fantasy. So that's one thing I wanted to say to listeners who think that I can't change my situation. Well, you absolutely can. Everything you need to navigate this life, you have within you. The other thing is I used to struggle with the suffering thing as well. One of my therapists said to me, suffering is a part of the human condition. You heal quicker when you don't resist it. And I know it sounds simple, but it is true. I would sit there and throw tantrum after tantrum. Why am I suffering this much? Why has God abandoned me? I've been good. Why are all these bad things happening to me? And yeah, I think there was an attachment to it. As I am now, I don't. Suffering will come. Of course, it's part of life. It ebbs and it flows. Will I have to grieve again? Absolutely. But I'm not going to resist and fight and go, this shouldn't happen to me. It happens to everybody. Suffering is a part of the human condition. So again, in that respect, claim your power back. As Karen said, at least one of the things you can be grateful for is it will pass. Nothing lasts forever.
I was laughing, Kay, when I heard about you saying about dropping a man in your lap, moving over your laptop, because I think actually with the law of attraction, it also can be quite useful for finding the kind of partner that you want. Not necessarily he has to look like this, that, and the other, but I think you can definitely put out to the universe, okay, I don't know, I'm with somebody, but just this, that, if you want a certain personality trait or a certain partner, I think you can put out to the universe. I'd like this type of man. This is the type of man that I would like.
Yeah.
Whether he comes to you with looking like what you thought's different. I do think you can, to a certain extent, because I think my type of, as you know, I have a type. So it was only that type of type, I guess type, I can't speak, that would come to me, if that makes sense. That type of man I was so hell-bent on getting that type of man. It's like, I will stop at nothing until I get him. It's like that. And I feel that I did get him. But I think you can put things out there. Definitely. When it comes to relationships. I think more people need to use their mindset and the law of attraction within their relationships and with attracting the kind of guys that they, or women that they may like.
I would agree with that. I think if you want to be married, for example, I think you'll only date certain types of men who also want that. So if you meet a player, possibly not a very good idea. I would say that was a red flag. And I think you just have to be really mindful of that. I think you will, like I say, you surround yourself by your likeness or what you're attracted to or what you're looking for. Does that make sense? And I think it works in lots of areas. Relationships, also I would agree with that. I think I've pretty much got what I've asked for in regards to that as well. When I think about my past, and that's why I'm saying I've got to be really sure about what I asked for, because I've asked for the wrong thing before.
Unfortunately.
100%. I've asked for the wrong thing and I have got it because that's what I asked for. So I think if you are really clear about what you want, and it's right for you, I do think you tend to attract that. The other thing I was going to say is, so I'm a CBT practitioner, so it's cognitive behavioral therapy I'm talking about. And within CBT, we talk a lot about our thoughts and how our thoughts affect our feelings and how that in turn affects behavior. And I think that's another really interesting concept, because thoughts are really, really powerful. And often we have these thoughts that are not fact. So Sarah was talking about, friends at work who say, my life's crap. That's not a fact, it's a thought. Right. And sometimes we have to challenge those thoughts. We have to say, okay, so what is crap about my life? What do I not like about it? Be really, really specific. I don't like my job. Okay, what could you do to make your job better? Are you working too much? Is the pay not good enough? Be specific about what you don't like. Because we can be really, really general, can't we? And say, it's all rubbish. And if it's, something that can't be changed, then you need to move on. But maybe there are things in that job that you can change. Maybe you've got really poor communication with your manager. So it feels as if they're on your case or whatever it is. And there are some things that you can actually change those things and make it better. So I think I do a lot of thought challenging. I challenge my thoughts and I have to think, okay, I'm thinking this. Is that a fact or is that just my opinion? I might think something like, my friend hasn't called me for some time. I must be an awful person. She doesn't like me anymore. That's not a fact. You know what I mean? And often I've had conversations with someone and that wasn't the case. Maybe they were going through a really, really bad time and I didn't realize that. So I think our thoughts are so powerful that I do think we need to be mindful of those thoughts and challenge them sometimes. Does that make sense, ladies? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. And our thoughts, we can go down rabbit holes.
100%.
If we do not rein them in, we don't have to act on every thought. You're right, they're not fact. We can have a feeling. We also don't need to act on it. we can also observe that feeling. I think I have something that might help you, Karen, with being sure of what you want. I think. I don't know if it will. But human design, I came across it on Twitter a few months ago, and it is based on astrology. So it's your natal chart, when you were born, what time you were born, where you were born, and then it calculates what kind of authority you have when you're making decisions. And this has been a godsend for me, because that's the one thing I always do is not double check, rather, I would question my decisions. Is it the right thing? I'm not sure what I want. And then inevitably I will probably make the wrong decision because I'm overthinking it. So human design, you shift from your mind into your body. So I put my profile in, thought, I'd give it a go, see how this works out for me. And it turns out that my inner authority, so the place from which I should make decisions, is my sacral center. And I will know it's a yes or a no based on how my body responds. So someone might say, Karen, do you want to go to Malaga for a girls' week? And I'm like, I will know it's a yes because I immediately get excited, full of energy. Yep, can't wait. Let's book it. Let's pack. If I don't have that excitement and it's, I'm not sure, then that's a no. And I can just let that go. No need to overthink it. My body said no, because that's where I get my authority from. And I have a split definition, which means I get yeses and nos from my sacral, but also from my spleen. Now, the splenic response is really quick. So it's like momentary and it's gone. So you have to be really in tune with your body to be able to hear what it's telling you around decisions. And I need to respond, wait to respond. So it is not for me to go out and create situations, which is where I think I messed up in the past, and make things happen in your life. So I'm not a manifester. That's not my authority or my strategy. I respond. So an invitation comes, I'll get a response in my body, and I'll know if it's a yes or a no. If it's a yes and I feel energized and excited about it, then the doors will open, similar to the law of attraction, because things will then start to flow because I've made the right decision. So even in relationships, I might meet someone and I think, oh, I'm not sure about you. Then that's a no. I don't need to spend time getting to know, because I'll have that immediate response. No, by the energy that this person gives off. So
have you ever been wrong though? Have you ever met someone you think immediately maybe it's a no, and actually later on it was a yes, or vice versa, when you've met them and you think yes, 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 and then actually it turned out to be a no? Is there ever any crossover?
At the time before human design, where I would use my head to make a lot of the decisions and override my body, I always got it wrong. So I might meet someone and something in my tummy goes, not sure. I might want to get to know this person better. And then I override it. But on paper, you're such a good match. You know, he said this, he's done that. And I override my authority, and it's been a disaster. And it's hard to get out of as well. You don't leave without being scarred. So now I don't question it. If I meet someone and it's an instant yes, I run with it. Not that I'm going to jump into the relationship, but my body's saying, yeah, let's explore this. But when it's absolutely, Sarah, when it's a then it's a no. And I have had such success with this. I tell you, with job offers, with client referrals, even, Sarah, I'll get a referral and I'll read it and I'll know that this client is for me or not. And I don't question it.
Is that like being intuitive? Is that, intuition?
Like isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference being this is more specific based on your birth astrology. That's the difference. So there's planetary guidance in there, whereas with intuition, I think we all have intuition. It's whether or not we sharpen it.
Some people have none. Kay, some people don't have any intuition, I swear. Some people have no gut feeling. Or they have a gut and they just ignore their gut and they never listen to it ever. And it's painful to watch.
They have the gut, Sarah, they ignore it. Much to your
screaming
peril.
at them. That gut is screaming at them and they're just not they put earplugs in and won't listen to it.
Yeah. So I'm going to say everybody has intuition. We're born with this instinctive understanding of the world around us. Whether or not we hone into it is another thing. But because I'm into my astrology bag at the moment, human design completely made sense. And I have been using it and it's worked for me. I no longer not know what to do. I always know. So that's my little gift to you, Karen.
That sounds really interesting, actually. I'd like to hear a bit more of that. Yeah.
Okay. You can get a whole profile as well if you want to read. I did it for my children, and we're all different. And we're all like, so that's the difference. My son is a projector. He's a throat authority. So what he speaks is what is true for him. So for him, if he needs to make a decision, he needs to speak it out. He needs to talk it through someone, and what comes out of his mouth will be his decision. But that's projectors. I'm a manifester. I'm a pure generator. My daughter has a different one. She's triple split definition. So she'll get answers from 3 places in her body. And they're momentary. So you've got to be really sharp. So it's worth trying if you find yourself either too much in your cognitive process and not enough in your heart, or vice versa.
Okay. All right. That sounds really interesting.
Definitely. Another thing I would say also, if someone's unsure of a decision to make, often I find journaling helps. I really find journaling helps. I never used to do journaling, but I find that really helps, actually, just writing down all the things I'm thinking of into paper. And I find sometimes asking the universe, okay, I don't know what to do about this decision. Mm-hmm. Please give me some guidance. Then I go to sleep. And often I'll dream of something. I think, okay, yeah, I've woken up. And it's like, okay, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pay attention to your dreams too, listeners. That's really important. But that's a whole nother podcast.
100% agree though, Sarah. My dreams are guides.
Yes, I love my dreams. Dreaming, we could just go on and on. But yeah, I guess we should wrap up, ladies.
We should. So basically, the law of attraction is, if you could sum it up in a word or a phrase, Sarah, what would you say it is?
Energy flow. So energy goes where energy flows. That's not one word, but that's how I'd sum it up.
It's a phrase. Energy goes. Phrase.
Yeah, energy goes where energy flows.
Energy flows. I love that. Yeah. I'm gonna sum it up as life is an echo. What you put out is what comes back to you.
Perfect.
And don't let anybody speak any negativity over your life.
Great.
I would say you get pretty much what you ask for.
Yeah, definitely.
If it's what you want and you ask for it, I think you're most likely to get it. Yeah, that's what I would say. Yeah, I have to say, I'm not particularly. We've had a conversation, haven't we, about spirituality, and I do struggle with that because I'm not particularly spiritual in that sense. Mm-hmm. So some of these, I'd be open to having a look and listening to, what you ladies say. But ordinarily, that doesn't come naturally for me, I have to say.
Even like you said, because you said you pray, even like that, you're putting it out there. Because some people are they believe in God, so then they're putting it out to God. Either way, you're putting it out there. You're getting, you're saying, this is what I want. Whether it's the universe, God, source, another deity, you're putting out.
That is very true.
And if you want to match scripture, there are 2 that spring to mind. You reap what you sow, or ask and you will receive, seek you will find, knock, the door is open to you. Yeah. So it's all the same thing, just different language.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Right. So who's doing our outro this week?
So you can find us on Instagram. Please follow us. We're at Beautifully Melanated Podcast. And our email is beautifullymelanatedpodcast@gmail.com. So
brilliant.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And I'll put the books that Sarah mentioned at the start in the bio if you are interested in further reading. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye for now.
We are beautifully